The Aurora theater shooting, one of the deadliest mass shootings in U.S. history, occurred on July 2012 during a midnight screening of the highly anticipated film The Dark Knight Rises at the Century 16 movie theater in Aurora, Colorado. The tragedy left 12 people dead and 70 others injured, sending shockwaves throughout the nation and prompting intense discussions on various social and political issues. The perpetrator of the Aurora theater shooting was James Eagan Holmes, a 24-year-old graduate student studying neuroscience at the University of Colorado, Denver. Holmes had been born on December 13, 1987, in San Diego, California, and led a relatively unremarkable life until the fateful night of the shooting. He had no prior criminal record and had reportedly excelled academically, earning an undergraduate degree in neuroscience from the University of California, Riverside. Holmes' motive for the attack remained a subject of speculation and debate. He had been in the process of withdrawing from his graduate program at the time of the shooting. Some reports suggested that he had experienced academic and personal difficulties, including the end of a romantic relationship, which may have contributed to his mental state. The midnight screening of The Dark Knight Rises was highly anticipated, with many fans of the Batman franchise eager to see the film. The theater was packed with excited moviegoers, some of whom were dressed as their favorite characters from the Batman series. Shortly after the movie began, Holmes entered the theater wearing a gas mask and heavily armed. He threw tear gas canisters into the crowd, creating chaos and panic. He then opened fire on the unsuspecting audience. The rapid and terrifying assault led to a scene of unimaginable horror. In the chaos that followed the shooting, moviegoers attempted to flee the theater while others sought cover. First responders arrived on the scene within minutes, but the damage had already been done. Victims were transported to nearby hospitals, and law enforcement apprehended Holmes near his car, which was parked behind the theater. The scale of the tragedy was staggering. 12 people lost their lives, and 70 others were injured. The victims ranged in age from 6 to 51, representing a cross-section of the community. Among the deceased were aspiring sports journalist Jessica Gowie, aspiring Navy SEAL Joan Blunk, and 6-year-old Veronica Moser Sullivan, the youngest victim of the shooting. Following his arrest, James Holmes was charged with multiple counts of murder and attempted murder. His trial was one of the most closely watched legal proceedings in recent memory. The case raised numerous legal, ethical, and psychological questions, particularly regarding Holmes' mental state and his capacity to stand trial. Holmes' defense team argued that he was suffering from severe mental illness at the time of the attack, contending that he was not legally responsible for his actions. Prosecutors, on the other hand, sought the death penalty, asserting that Holmes meticulously planned the attack and was fully aware of the consequences of his actions. The trial lasted for several months, during which a jury heard extensive evidence and testimony from both sides. Ultimately, in July 2015, Holmes was found guilty of all charges. In August of the same year, the jury determined that he would receive multiple life sentences without the possibility of parole, sparing him from the death penalty. This decision was influenced by concerns about his mental state and the difficulty of reaching a unanimous verdict on the death penalty. The Aurora theater shooting had profound and far-reaching effects on the community, the nation, and the world. These effects can be grouped into several key areas. Community grief and resilience. The Aurora community was deeply affected by the tragedy. Vigils and memorials were held to honor the victims and support their families. The community demonstrated remarkable resilience, coming together to heal and remember those who had lost their lives. National and international attention. The Aurora shooting captured the attention of the entire nation and received significant international media coverage. It reignited debates on gun control, mental health care, and security in public spaces, prompting discussions on how to prevent future mass shootings. Gun control debates. The Aurora shooting rekindled the national debate on gun control in the United States. Advocates for stricter gun control laws pointed to the tragedy as evidence of the need for more comprehensive measures to prevent such incidents. They argued for background checks, restrictions on high-capacity magazines, and other measures to keep firearms out of the hands of those who might pose a threat. Opponents stressed the importance of upholding the Second Amendment and the role of individual responsibility. Mental health considerations. The shooter's mental health became a significant point of contention during the trial. The case highlighted the need for improved mental health care and the challenges of identifying individuals with severe mental health issues before they resort to violence. It raised questions about how society should handle cases of mental illness and potential danger. Security in public places. The shooting also sparked conversations about security in public places, especially in venues like movie theaters where large crowds gather. Some theaters implemented additional security measures, including bag checks and metal detectors, to prevent similar incidents in the future. Changes in police tactics. Law enforcement agencies reviewed and adjusted their response tactics in the wake of the shooting. The rapid and coordinated response of Aurora police, who arrived at the scene within minutes, was praised for minimizing further casualties. Legal implications and gun control laws. In the years following the shooting, Colorado introduced and passed legislation aimed at enhancing gun control measures. These laws included background checks for all gun sales and transfers, as well as limits on magazine capacities. Support for victims and families. Various organizations and funds were established to provide support and financial assistance to the victims and their families. These initiatives aimed to alleviate the physical, emotional, and financial burdens resulting from the tragedy. In the years following the Aurora theater shooting, the community and the nation sought to remember and honor the victims. Numerous memorials and events were held to pay tribute to those who lost their lives and to support the survivors and their families. Aurora Strong Resilience Center. The Aurora Strong Resilience Center was established to provide resources and support to those affected by the shooting. It offers counseling services, support groups, and educational programs to help survivors and their families cope with the trauma. Theater renovation and reopening. The Century 16 Theater, where the shooting took place, underwent renovations and reopened under the name Century, Aurora, and Ext. The reopening ceremony emphasized healing and resilience with a focus on moving forward. Permanent memorial. Plans were made for a permanent memorial to honor the victims and the strength of the community. The memorial's design includes elements such as 12 pillars, each representing a victim, and a survivor wall to recognize those who endured the tragedy. Annual Day of Remembrance. Each year, the community and survivors come together to mark the anniversary of the shooting with a day of remembrance. Events include memorial ceremonies, community gatherings, and acts of kindness to honor the memory of the victims. The Aurora Theater shooting is a tragic and deeply disturbing chapter in the history of gun violence in the United States. It serves as a stark reminder of the potential for violence in public spaces and the devastating consequences of untreated mental illness. While the legal case against James Holmes has been resolved, the broader issues raised by the Aurora shooting continue to be subjects of debate and discussion. The tragedy prompted a renewed focus on the need for comprehensive gun control measures, improved mental health care, and enhanced security in public places. It also demonstrated the resilience and strength of the community in the face of unspeakable tragedy. As the nation grapples with the ongoing challenges of gun violence, mental health, and public safety, the memory of the Aurora Theater shooting serves as a sobering reminder of the work that remains to be done to prevent similar incidents in the future.